Welcome back, my fellow subscribers. In this video, we talk about a super bokeh lens, the 50mm F0.95 from TTArtisans.
This is the Macro Marvin channel, where he'll share his passion for photography, videography, watches, cats, cars, and much more. Enjoy and thank you for watching.
Now, if you're familiar with Leica lenses in general, this does exist for other mounts, but I tested this particular version on Leica M and used it on the SL2. But this lens is available for other mounts. So I wanted to test this one because I was trying to see how good is it at f.95. I have experience using the Mitakon, and I would say the Mitakon is pretty decent after their third version. But this one just has a very nice clean look in terms of build quality, and I just wanted to give it a shot. So overall, I won't be going over any specs aside from the fact that this is a 50 f.95. So I wanted to just share the pictures and not beat around the bush so you could see the samples. There is really good separation. My thoughts on this lens are very straightforward. It was performing decent to acceptable at certain ranges. I think it was between medium to short, not so close range. I did experience a lot of shots at infinity or too close to not be very sharp, as well as having a bit of muddy bokeh, which I was actually surprised because at f.95 there's an opportunity to get a lot of great bokeh, but this unfortunately was not always there. Like, you couldn't always see that smooth bokeh. So in the samples you'll see there are a lot of situations where the bokeh is a bit messy, and if you zoom in, not even too zoomed in, like at 100 or 400%, just a medium zoom in to see the quality, you see that the bokeh is a bit messy. Now, again, similar to other lenses I've been testing out, I wanted to see how is it performing in video. Is it different? So in video, I could say it's very similar, with the exception that the lack of sharpness and sometimes the busyness of the bokeh could be passed as acceptable. So like it won't bother you as much in many cases because video purposes are very different. In the example where I'm showing foliage and going from foreground to background, there are moments where you do see some busyness and pretty strong outlines of out of focus foliage, which if you fixate on that, this overall then is not a very good lens for you, because you're not going to get creamy smooth bokeh every single time, and you're not always going to get sharpness, so it will look slightly muddy on the edges or close to the edges of the frame. Now, when we're talking about chromatic aberrations, this thing produced sometimes, and sometimes I didn't see much, but it was a mixed bag. So I wouldn't say it's fully corrected, and I wouldn't say it's perfect. Like I said already, no, there isn't much sharpness. It varies on the distance of your subject, which is interesting because the bokeh has strong lines many times, and there's more examples that you're seeing on the screen where out of focus subjects or like foliage that are quite at a distance are still showing pretty strong outlines. So would I recommend this lens just based off of using it for photography, taking it from that perspective? I think it's a bit of a hit or miss for me. So if you are shooting at medium distance, this could work for you. But keep in mind, this is designed to just eliminate the background. So if you're shooting at medium to close distance, you will eliminate the background, which, depending on your style, that may be something you want to do or not do. The bokeh, I think, is the best at close to medium, not too close, as you'll see in the examples. That's the same thing for video. If you're shooting video and you want something with a bit more character, not clinical, shooting at a medium distance will give you the best image. And I think you could ignore some of the deficiencies in the bokeh at that distance. But if you're trying to use this lens for a bit of like a everyday, many subjects types, type of photography, I think you will be disappointed here and there, because you do there are a couple things that I think are hard to accept, at least personally, such as the busy bokeh. I feel like the lack of sharpness I could have dealt with if the busy bokeh wasn't there. Now, going back to the comparison, if I still recommend this, it clearly is designed to be used within a certain range. So if you're okay with those type of limitations in exchange for a f.95, then yeah, by all means, you can get this at a pretty good cost. Sometimes I've seen them on sale pre-owned, down to like $950 or $400. I would not buy this new, to be honest. I would rather buy it pre-owned. If you're using this for video, I doubt a lot of people are going to pick this for video, but it can give you a different style, a different look for certain clips. But like I said, I wouldn't say I preferred it for either one. It was kind of like a 50-50 mix of my impressions of this lens. There weren't any specific shots that stood out to me, or shots or clips from video that stood out to me. Flaring was okay. I'd say there's enough flaring to add style to your image, but not too much, depending on how you angle your lens. But yeah, at close range, which is where you're going to get the most bokeh, the bokeh is it's okay, it's passable, but you are going to get a lot of low contrast, veiling. It's that dreamy look. So you will enjoy the dreamy look if that's what you're looking for, but sometimes it is too much and it makes you question if you were in focus or not. I have a couple more examples that I put on here, like with my cats at close to medium distance. If you don't focus on the background too much, it's a passable image. But again, I don't see it offering like a unique signature look, in my opinion. I think you're much better well off getting an f1.2, an f1.4 from Voigtlander or Zeiss, Light Lens Lab. There's so many other options. If you're getting this just for the f.95, I guess your options at the affordable range are pretty limited, without having to go to like the 800 to 1000 level with like a Voigtlander f1. But it may be, if you are after that f.95, it may be it may be a good idea to save up for something like that, because this is a pretty standard image in my opinion. I didn't really get a signature look, like I said, and it didn't really feel enticing to use. I've been much more enjoying like the Cimeras, the 51.4, or even like other vintage glass that we have at 51.4, like Canon FD, Minolta, even vintage Leica R, Leica M. There's just better ways to get a unique look without necessarily going to f.95, where, because it's expensive and difficult to make a lens with those specifications, you won't end up with like the best image ever. So you do have to, this is a lens that you do have to accept compromises with. Now, focusing. I would say focusing it was pretty good. The SL2 is really good for using manual focus lenses, so I didn't really struggle much. What I did struggle with was when I was punching in with magnification to ensure I was sharp or not. And because this lens doesn't provide a high level of sharpness, sometimes it does confuse you on whether you hit it or not. So in that sense, that's a bit of a challenging use. So I would not recommend this for moving subjects unless you're really planning where your subject's going to walk by and you're just going to spray it a bit and take 3 to 5 shots, to be honest. This worked best for static scenes. So in my videos, you'll see I was not walking around much. I just stood in place. I focused. It was more like a moodiness to capture a static image. But even then, in video, you will notice there was chromatic aberration, and you may or may not be okay with that. I personally was not a fan. But overall, I mean, it's good to try lenses, and I mean, it's hard to say no to a 50 f.95. It's very attractive aperture, and focal length. So by all means, I would recommend you test it yourself and make your own decision. But from what I saw and my uses, just trying to do like an everyday recording of what I did on a walk or a trail or my pets, and some sample footage, I don't think it hit the marks for me, and I would personally not recommend it unless you definitely want that sort of dreamy look and imperfection in lenses. So I hope you enjoyed this video and the samples that I provided. Let me know down below if your experience is different. I don't know if there's sample variations or maybe there's a better alternative that's still around here and I'm just not aware of it. Any other lens brands. I'm yet to try out like a Voigtlander F1, and I'm curious to know if it's even good compared to something like this that is technically very affordable in terms of 50.95. So thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed it.